If there was such a thing as a pre-sales license, I think the top things that you'd be licensed for are discovery, creative thinking, empathetic listening, and then presenting back effective solutions. That would be the top of license. And that's what we are talking about today on the show. How do you operate at the top of your license? All those things that you do the best at.
I mean, I can tell you what's at the bottom of the license that I operate. I think all of us can probably say these are the things that are not top of license, right?
Yeah.
If we want to say responding to RFPs is probably going to be everyone's least favorite. Demo prep, helping AEs find documents that they've lost. We don't get AE bashing. We talked about that last week. But all those tasks that tend to pull you out of that top of license, getting into flow. Where does that phrase come from? I've heard that before. Where does that come from in case anyone hasn't heard that idea, Matthew?
I think it comes from the medical profession. The idea is to maximize efficiency. And actually, I think to maximize patient outcomes, you want professionals to be doing the thing that they are most qualified for. And so in pre-sales, we want to be doing all of those things and removing those tasks or spending less time on those tasks, which can be automated or brought somewhere else.
I had heard that too. In fact, in the show, I think I talked about that being from the medical profession, but I wasn't positive. But it's definitely this idea. And I think we forget that if you're spending most of your time doing more administrative tasks, prep tasks, RFP responses, security questionnaires, et cetera, if I was going to hire someone just to do those, I probably wouldn't be paid the same as what I'm being paid as an SC, which is usually a much higher dollar amount. So if you think about that for a second, you want to be able to maximize that. Before I forget, hi, welcome to the Pre-Sales Podcast. I'm Jack Cochran, General Manager of Pre-Sales Collective. With me, as always, my fantastic co-host, Matthew James.
Hey, everyone. Today on the show, we had Rob Bruce to get into some of these things. Jack, tell everyone about Rob.
So Rob has been in the field for about 20 years. He currently works at Syndigo. He's the person who's architected Syndigo's Pursuit Desk, which is sort of like a pre-sales concierge, as you see in the title of the episode, which is what we get into right at the top of the show. He's been in master data management, product information management, pre-sales leadership, and the Pursuit Desk we're going to talk about, think of this as he describes it, your hotel concierge who's going to do all the things for you so that you as a guest don't have to worry about kind of the smaller things. In the same way that his Pursuit Desk takes care of those non-top of license tasks that are still very, very important, but that take away from your focus of you being effective in discovery and value selling, all the things you mentioned at the very beginning, Matthew.
Yeah, it was an awesome conversation, and there's lots for you to look out for. So shall we hop into it, Jack?
Let's hop into it right after the break. In a recent episode, we introduced you to Elvance, the pre-sales application designed exclusively for Salesforce customers. Elvance is trusted by global teams to transform their pre-sales journey, capturing the right metrics, improving collaboration, and delivering measurable impact. The result? Smarter processes, more accurate forecasts, and sales engineers who finally have everything they need in one place. Here's how Scott Beer, Global Director of Sales Engineering at Fusion Connect, described it. The Elvance platform has been revolutionary, finding key metrics unknown previously and changing our understanding of the sales process. Fusion Connect is now better with this tool. This is a key application for any sales engineering team. If your sales engineering team is not using this tool, it's not as effective as it can be. Elvance surfaces real KPIs and utilization metrics, demonstrating the impact of pre-sales and equipping leaders with the capacity data to justify additional headcount. If you've heard of Vivint, Home Run, or other pre-sales tools, you need to know about Elvance. With integrations into Jira, Google Calendar, Outlook, Gong, and more, it seamlessly fits into your workflows. But unlike other tools, it's built natively inside Salesforce, where your team already works. Visit elvance.io to learn more. That's elvance.io. Give your sales engineers the platform they deserve, and your business the advantage it needs. Hi, Rob. Welcome to the Pre-Sales Podcast.
Thank you very much for having me.
Excited to have you here. I know we talked in the intro a little bit about the topic today. This is something I'm actually very excited to talk about. When you had first kind of told me about it, I know we had connected back a few months ago. I never heard anyone really talk about this concept as completely as you have. I've heard about people having kind of ops teams for pre-sales, et cetera. But when we're talking about kind of the concept of a pre-sales concierge, like a concierge team, talk to me about that.
At Syndigo, we believe that it should be about the customers and not the checklists. And oftentimes, our pre-sales teams are being bogged down. And by the way, This whole philosophy and theory comes from 2 decades of experience and trial and error and success and failures and the pursuit of making sure that we have a better way of doing things in the future. That's why it should be about customers and not checklists. Your typical pre-sales person has so many things on their plate. They have so many critical tasks. They have NDAs that they have to make sure they're signed. They have InfoSec documents. They have demos. They have RFPs. They have to figure out who the reference is going to be. They have surprise assignments at the end of a pre-sales RFP process where they're expecting miracles, the client, overnight. And so we needed to alleviate that burden off of those pre-sales resources. So just like the concierge does at a world-class hotel and ensures everything is running smoothly around the main event, the pursuit desk is doing the same. And we're making sure our sales engineers have everything that they need, but not only them, but our InfoSec team, our legal team, our reference team. We're really the concierge to create the umbrella to make sure that all of those people are in sync with the pursuit of the deal. And that's why we call ourselves a global pursuit desk. And we really refer to ourselves as the concierge internally and externally. That frees up our pre-sales resources to do what they really should be doing, right? And that's discovery, solutioning, building trusted relationships with our prospects and customers. They can't do that if they're bogged down.
That's got to free up a lot of time as I'm hearing you listing all the things that you do with your pursuit desk. I'm like, that's like 80% of what my time ended up being on a lot of deals in a lot of days was those kind of checklist items. So that does free up a lot of time. I have so many questions. I'll start with one. I'll give you one at a time. The first question I have about this, I guess, is how did this idea get started? Like, where did this come from? Did you inherit this? Was this your idea? And how did you get buy-in for it?
That's a great question. I cannot take full credit for it at all. It was definitely something that I have applied from a model that I was really inspired by. And that is Garen Hess. Selling is hard, buying is harder. If you're in pre-sales and in the pre-sales collective, you need to pick up that book. That's like a must-read desktop reference for everybody. I think I've given away a couple of copies already to people that really were also inspired by it. But we've extended that philosophy internally. If buying is tough for our customers, Jack, operating internally shouldn't be equally tough for our pre-sales resources. So we're kind of applying Garen's methodology internally on the pre-sales resources so that they can be freed up, like I said. His book really inspired me to put it into practice. And I have, at previous roles, been able to do some of that. And now here at Syndigo with the Pursuit Desk concept in full force, we're hitting the pre-sales world here at Syndigo with several different modalities, if you will, the modalities of pre-sales, right? We have the RFP desk that is accountable for making sure that we have the best, most empathetic responses for our customers and prospects for their RFPs, for their InfoSec documents, for their due diligence questionnaires, anything that requires a branded signature on the document that says this is Syndigo and we're standing behind it. That RFP desk coordinates that. How does that translate to Garen Hess's model? Well, we're using the consensus demo qualification and demo automation technology within the RFP desk, as well as within the other modalities. So we're really creating a cross relationship between our demo automation tools and our RFP tools as well. If you want to consider things being automated and freeing up resources and time, there's definitely some great best of breed software and technology and partners out there that will help you do that.
When you think of giving time back, unlocking things, what are you hearing back from customers using this? So what success stories? What's success looking like today?
Well, for one thing, the resources that were spending their nights and weekends filling out RFPs no longer have to spend those hours doing that because they have a dedicated concierge team.
That right there is success for sure.
Right? And that really freed up a ton of time. And, if you think about some of the demands that prospects and customers are asking from a pre-sales resource these days. It's a lot. It's heavier than it's ever been. What does that mean, Rob? Well, they're not just asking for a high-level demo. They're asking for a POC, a proof of concept, where they're giving structured assignments and use cases and success criteria to you. I'd rather them be much more focused on the POC and winning that than filling out, and I wouldn't say monotonous because RFPs are important, but time-consuming 965 question RFPs, right? So that's one way. The other ways are just around demo prep and the other activities that they have on their plate with Synago. We have a lot of big things that are going on here. We just acquired a company, One World Sync, so making sure that all of those new resources are acclimated and have the playbooks and what they need as well. So that frees up mentorships to occur and are occurring within our culture as well. By the way, I referred to pre-sales as a culture, and I hope you guys do too, because we have these values and we have these beliefs, and we try to stick to these different norms. So, sociologically speaking, pre-sales collective is definitely a culture or a subculture for sure.
When you think of pre-sales culture, what do you think of?
If I had different personas for pre-sales resources, they range from disguised salespeople, I call them sales ninjas, right? That are very technical and technically savvy and win over the room quickly and gain trust quickly because they're genuine and honest and are really the shining North Stars in the room that people are looking to. To me, that's the greatest cultural. Have you ever seen the slide where it says pre-sales, what I really do and what my parents think I do, what my boss thinks I do? And it's like, first class on a plane in one picture, and in another one, it's pulling a rabbit out of a hat. I think in pre-sales culture, what we're really trying to do is win over the customer with our trust and our knowledge around the technology or whatever we're selling, and not be the salespeople. Let the salespeople be the salespeople, but be the technical sales and be that. And that's the culture. Not only that, but being genuine personality-wise in the room, I think is another critical aspect of pre-sales culture that we should value, and we do value. Everybody has a different way of learning, and everybody in that room on that buying team has a different need. And so making sure that you can kind of be a chameleon and understand each one of those needs based on your experience and based on what you know, what you've read and what you've studied, that is another big part of pre-sales culture as well.
Yeah, I haven't flown first class to a meeting yet, but if there is anyone out there that knows where I have to go to make that happen, let me know. You're so right, though. I think there's this genuineness, there is knowing your domain and being that chameleon, depending on what the customer needs on a product level and also what they need from a buying perspective. And that, I think, sums up exactly what pre-sales is about. Also, I think there's this collaborative nature that comes kind of as a part of that. If you're already thinking about what the customer needs, you're going to want to lean in both with the customer and with your teammates to get to the right solution.
That's right. And if you're too busy worried about the RFP that you have to fill out on your flight home, how are you going to focus on that discovery with your customer, your prospect, right?
It's a distraction thing, right? I guess here's an analogy that I've heard someone saying that you should be in your role working, like this is from a phrase from, I think, a doctor, you should be working to the top of your diploma or something like that. I don't know. It's a phrase that I heard someone say once, and I know I'm botching it, but the idea is the thing you're best at, the thing that's the top skill, the thing that you're being paid for, the way you demand your salary, you need to operate as close to there as possible at all times in order to get the most value for whatever you're doing. In the world of sales, that means if the top thing that I'm being paid for is connecting with the customer, helping them get over their obstacles, if we're thinking about a buyer enablement culture, right? How do I get the customer to understand what they need to know on their side and path to rules they need to pass in order to complete the sale? How do I get them to trust me? That's solution consultants working at the top of their diploma, if I'm using that phrase correctly. If not, you at least can follow me on the podcast, you're saying it. The more time I have to spend doing things like RFP fill-outs, as important as they are, it's taking away from that time where I'm adding the most value to the customer. And so I love this idea, right? Because I think back to all the times that I had spent on planes filling out questionnaires rather than thinking about, I got this thing coming up. Are there things I haven't considered yet? Are there things I should prep? Ooh, is there someone else maybe I could ask a question before the meeting that would add more value? No, I've got this deadline and I have 900 questions I need to get done by midnight. And I'm going to be ordering DoorDash to my hotel room and staying up, in order to get this done rather than thinking about the thing I'm prepping for the next day.
It's really a blessing. I mean, especially on a global scale, having a global pursuit desk, because for those reasons, also because you can see what's happening in the world. You kind of stand on the edge and look down at all of the things in the funnel, right? But that's very important to have one desk that sees things coming and is there to prepare and to represent. And having that on a global scale, what does that mean? Well, you're also dealing with a lot of different types of cultural expectations. You may not respond to an RFP the same way in Europe, in Germany and France, definitely with the languages, as you would to the Japanese culture. I know back in my IBM contract days where we would say the IBM product is good, but our competitors' products are also good, but here's why ours is a little bit better. And so presenting yourself in the right way, in the right fashion on a global scale, that's also really, really challenging to do if you don't have one central place where the messaging is controlled. And if you have a marketing team and a RFP desk that is siloed, that could potentially work against you. You may not be able to control that message altogether. And that's critical because RFPs, they're contracts, whether you sign them or not, your words are your blood when it comes to that.
It's going to get brought up during implementation. I've had that happen, yes. And I was like, oh, that was written by someone who's not here anymore. I don't know why they wrote that. Yeah. A lot of this is as I'm thinking through, and I'm just going to say probably the elephant in the podcast room that's probably walked through the door since you started talking about this, which is, this sounds fine. I can't even get headcount for my team. How do I convince my leadership to dedicate resources to something that feels further removed from the customer? Like if someone was like, I love this idea, but where do I begin? How do I start to even have these conversations and not get shut down immediately if they're like, I'd love to champion a pursuit desk in my company?
I would first start with an executive sponsor that will become your champion. If you're going at it alone and you're going to be a lobbyist, independent lobbyist that is working their way through the different divisions of your organization to secure budget, to secure anyone that will lend you an ear, you're going to have a more challenging time. But I will say this. If we're talking ROI, having a pursuit desk that frees up your pre-sales resources to make sure that you're winning deals rather than relying on those same resources to be your pursuit desk and add multitasking the things in the deal as well as things that are on their plate for future deals tomorrow and next week. And I work all weekend now. You're not going to have your pre-sales resource very long, first of all, because you're going to burn them out. And I'm sure, Jack, that you have discussed pre-sales burnout many, many times. It's very real.
It comes up a lot because it's a very real, absolutely.
Having the organization understand the impact of that does take some doing. How do you measure that? Well, you measure it with deals and you measure it through deal win rates. It's the only way. We're in sales. We don't get measured by anything but wins. And we're not here tomorrow if they're not there, and that goes for the whole team. From a strategy perspective, selling the message around having a global pursuit desk, you really need to have and find that executive sponsor to justify it. But if you look at the deals and the deal sizes and the amount of time and effort that your pre-sales resources are taking, to me, it's a really easy calculation to present to the executive team.
That definitely makes sense. I love the idea of finding that executive sponsor. I think we forget about that, which is funny because we're in sales, and how often do we talk about when we're trying to get something sold within the customer, finding that champion? That's the only way deals get done. But we almost forget when we've got our own ideas of things we're trying to pursue within our own companies. I don't know why we forget about that all the time.
this all started because of COVID for me. The executive sponsor at the time, I said, hey, we have a pre-sales travel budget, right? This is 2020. We have a pre-sales travel budget that we ain't going to use, and we aren't going to use for a while, right? We're going to be virtual. So why can't we invest in this kind of structure? And they went with it. They said, okay, take that investment and let's use that as the foundation.
I love the creativity there. Right.
Yeah. I mean, then we were all working in our basements and not in the boardroom. So Garen Hess's selling is hard, buying is harder couldn't have come at a better time for me personally in my career, because that really became my, okay, how am I going to do this?
Not everyone's going to necessarily have that kind of excess budget floating around, but I definitely see, as you're painting the picture, of a lot of my time was just my team going, okay, we currently have 7 ongoing RFPs with a team of 5 people. Clearly, if we could have stopped multitasking, it would have been better. But making that shift and help people see that that shift isn't stealing resources, but opening up. And especially, I think that multitasking piece is often the overlooked piece of any value-based conversation. We all know it in our personal lives. When you get in that focus, get in the flow, as some people say when they're talking about real good focus, you do your best work there when you can focus and not have to constantly context shift, etc. You're helping people stay in the flow more with a pursuit desk, right? More than just, you don't have to do the parts that don't add value, because you're in the value you're more in flow. You're not multitasking. You're not suffering that shift with having to switch all the time.
Less stress, less burnout.
Yeah.
More fun. And by the way, I'm biased, but you ask any VP of sales, pre-sales are some of the most important people at the company. You make or break the deal, right?
Yeah. Are you prepared for people going, okay, Syndigo, I want to work there because they have a pursuit desk? Like, do you hear that often? Does that come up when you talk about this thing?
Sure. I mean, we're always attracting new talent. And yeah, I mean, wouldn't that be something that you look at and say, oh, you mean I can actually focus on doing what I love? Discovery and solutioning and demos and all the things that really drive the people that are scrappy and hungry in pre-sales. Those are the people that really want to do those things instead of, being bogged down. Not to say that the pursuit desk is a bogged down place, because it's an exciting place, right? It's just, we'll call it the back office, right? If you think of a Formula One racing team, there's a huge building somewhere in another land sometimes that is filled with engineers, and that's the pursuit desk, right? While they're out on the track and they're, in the pit and they're winning the race, we're back at HQ looking at all the data and making sure that the team is running at optimum performance.
I love that analogy. I think it's 100% apt, right? You're helping the team to win better when they're out in the field, on the track, whatever it were.
Yeah, I think F1 always comes up as a really, really potent analogy for this.
This is not the first time we've had F1 brought up on the show recently. It's apt.
It's crazy what they do in that. It's a great analogy, but I mean, they spend billions of dollars on it. That's how focused that whole team is. And you really want to apply that same mentality to this process, right? And to pre-sales and as a whole.
I'm curious about how this works behind the scenes. We've got to ask about AI. So tell us how that folds in and a little bit more about how this works.
If we didn't have AI at the pursuit desk, we would not be able to effectively scale and keep up with the pace at the rate that we're going. AI is a critical part of what we do. It's the Roomba. It's the one that's sweeping the floor and cleaning up the mess, taking the first pass at our RFPs, making recommendations on how to win deals based on what we know and what we can pull from things like CRM and from past experiences with the same company or past experiences with companies of the same size or within the same industry. And bringing all of that data together is really driving us. For example, I mentioned the AI in our RFP technology. They take the first pass at the RFP based on machine learning and artificial intelligence. Is it perfect? No way. Would you send it out like that in the first pass? Hell no. That would be ridiculous. But what it does is, if we play by the 80-20 rule, it does fill out the form in the appropriate way. I would say in an 80% fashion. What do you have to do? The other 20% is pursuit desk coming in and personalizing and making the responses empathetic to the person reading them and making sure that we understand the buying personas and the folks that are on the other side of this. Because if you think that you're just turning in a 900 question RFP for nobody to read, believe me, not only are they reading it, they're also dropping it into AI so that they can digest it and they can also TLDR it, if you will. That's all going on within the RFP desk. And then other places that we're using it are actually within our demo CRM and technology to make go or no-go decisions on deals where we have a scorecard and maybe some history on the customer or their industry. And, based on, did we get this RFP in yesterday? And are they asking for us to turn it around tomorrow? Well, maybe we should consider seeing if we could get an extension on this. So our go or no-go technology allows us to make those decisions better, but also have an audit trail as to, okay, how long did we spend on this, or did we pursue it? If so, why not? If we did pursue it, how long did it take the team? Did it take the full 2 weeks that they gave us? Did it take 3 or 4 days? So we're measuring everything that we do and tying it to win-loss rates and other data elements as well.
That's a benefit of centralizing everything versus having individual SCs work on all these separate tasks. I've tried to implement measurements of all those same things when an SC is responsible for all the things you're mentioning that a pursuit desk is doing. And there's just no way to get people to properly think about the time that they spent, the effort, how it impacted. But when it's all centralized, much easier to measure, I can imagine, because that's the data that we want that so many teams don't have. It's the KPIs we want to build off of.
Well, it's easy for me to say because I work for a master data management company that is dedicated to centralizing data, right? So if we're not drinking our own Kool-Aid and our philosophies, then we should be out of the business for sure. And by the way, I should also mention that we do use Syndigo technology in our RFP as well as in our pursuit desk, where we are creating those dashboards so that we can make decisions in the future as well. So shout out to the Syndigo platform to being agile for that.
I love hearing someone who actually is enjoying where they work for many reasons. So love to hear this shout out.
Can I just say something about that? If you're not at a place where you don't feel welcome, then you're at the wrong place. And there are definitely places, many places that will welcome you and embrace you. I just went on a week-long vacation and just came back Monday, and there were so many people that were happy I was back. It felt so nice to be loved in many different ways. But no, in all seriousness, I do feel loved here. And I know that this is a special company who just made an acquisition, so it's extra special now. But, the people around here make the difference. And I'm sure people have said that here on the podcast before. It's the people and the process and the technology, the trifecta of those things, but really most importantly, the people. It goes back to your executive sponsor. How well do you know the executive team at your company? Who would you go and ask for a pursuit desk, right? Who could you start to powwow with and see what they think, right? They might say, Rob, that's ridiculous. Or they might say, Rob, that's interesting. Let's talk more. The people are important. And having an organization that is flat and entrepreneurial, like the one I work for, is truly a blessing.
I love to hear that. And speaking of people, it's a good segue. Rob, your people, like if people want to get a hold of you because they're like, I love this, I want to hear more. Maybe they want to find out how they can get some personal advice on how they could maybe pursue some of this. How can people get in touch with you and connect with you?
So reach out to me on LinkedIn is the easiest and best way. I am at linkedin.com/n/Rob Bruce. Yes, I did get that URL. Thank you very much. But if you go to linkedin.com/n/Rob Bruce, that's me. Connect. And please feel free. I'm happy to talk pre-sales with anybody.
Excellent. And last question before we end here. You've given us so many nuggets already, but any final thoughts, any nuggets, like what do you want to leave people with here on the show?
Be part of this. Be part of the team. Be part of the pre-sales collective. and make sure that you are being a fountain of knowledge and consuming everything that you're listening to, because it's only going to make you successful and a better pre-sales rep. And the sky is the limit. I come from a music and sociology background. I don't come from a sales. I don't have an MBA. I don't have a degree in technology. And I've thrived for 20 years in pre-sales. So if I can do it, anybody can do it, and you can be successful at it.
Excellent parting words. Rob, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Wish we had more time, but we are out of time. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Jack, very much.
Thank you for listening to the Presales Podcast by Presales Collective. Did you know that we also post on the Presales Collective blog following each episode? Head there to read through information on shows you might have missed or find another past episode to listen to. For more information on the Presales Podcast itself and to listen to those past episodes, visit presalescollective.com/podcast.